Welcome back, everyone. Maybe you're one of those people, or maybe you know somebody that seems to be having some issues with changing themselves for the better, right? We have situations in our life that we might like to improve overall, but what if it's about us ourselves? When some people are actually, perhaps many people, I'm not even entirely aware of this 100%, but I do know at least that young people, for example, can go through these phases of low self-confidence, so low self-esteem. They're anxious, they're about everything in their lives. I mean, there's all this peer pressure also going on when we're younger, and this might carry over into adulthood, etc. But you see, people want to change for the better, and then they are stuck. They're in this situation. For example, take this question I put on the screen right here with this person. They're saying, I'm kinda ruining my life. I have no confidence in myself and my self-esteem is very low. I'm such an anxious person. Please don't tell me BS like you're loved and you will be successful. These words from a complete stranger have no impact on my thoughts. Now, you're free to tune in on this in the comment section below if you want. I mean, you can give your own thoughts about how you would answer this person. But in this video, I wanted to just give my take on this, and maybe it can serve some purpose for somebody else out there. Since I agree with them, that saying, if I were to say to them, well, you're loved and you will be successful, there's literally nothing there that can really help you solve the issue. You see, what I would say to this person if they were standing in front of me is, where do confidence, self-esteem and anxiety exist? Where does that exist? Because they're saying, I have no confidence in myself. Number 2, my self-esteem is very low. And number 3, I'm such an anxious person. So they're describing themselves in a particular way. But where's that description coming from? Well, of course, it comes from within their own mind. So through this, we're directing them, and directing you and myself, everyone, to this very, very important fact that if we want to improve ourselves, we're going to have to understand our own minds, obviously. Because it is our own mind where personality also develops and resides. And if our personality is not good, if it's bringing us bad things only, then we need to change that personality around so that we can generate different results altogether, because of being a completely different person altogether. So by saying you're loved and you will be successful, of course, that doesn't do anything. That's kind of like trying to flatter a person or to just give them superficial support without explaining to them they should turn inwardly. So this person, I would say, has to turn to their own mind first of all in order to actually figure this out. Now then they have to ask themselves, how can you calm down and balance your own mind when it's full of no confidence and low self-esteem and anxiety? Well, with that I would have to say through meditation. But then the catch is that most people with anxiety find it difficult to mentally calm down. But yet your solution lies in that direction. If the mind is calm, you can develop more spiritual awareness and wisdom through the intuitive faculty of the mind. You can be guided on how to change yourself, but only if you're willing to stop and listen to that inner, deeper voice that lies beyond the superficial labels we normally go along with concerning ourselves. So something like that I would tell them in response to their questions. Will that actually help them realize anything? Totally depends on them. You see, because with this question in of itself, I obviously don't know the full picture there. I don't know why they have low confidence, low self-esteem, why they have anxiety. There might be all kinds of reasons for this. They might be traumatized. Something terrible might have happened to them, and ever since they've been a little out of balance within themselves. Who knows? And if that's the case, of course, sometimes that needs some addressing as well in order to finally go to a place of balance and peace within ourselves. So if something bad happens that is on a severe level, that is very traumatic, for example, then of course we can't just say to people, well, get over yourself. Ultimately, I mean, as hard as it might sound, we have to get over ourselves eventually. So it is okay to be shocked and feeling down upon yourself, beating up on yourself, perhaps feeling bad in all kinds of ways because of negative stuff that has occurred in your past. But ultimately, if you then want to change myself, as this person asked, they asked, how do I change myself? Well, this would be my answer. And you could leave in the comment section below what would be your answer to this person's question and how they could change yourself. Maybe you have an interesting story on how you change yourself. But for me as well, the aspects of my personality that I wanted to change, some of them were harder to change than others. Sometimes it seemed easy, other times it seemed more tricky. Like old habitual ways of living would just keep dragging me back to them. But all of this, I discovered, could indeed be overcome the more I kept in my heart and mind this awareness that even though it seems difficult, even though everything seems hopeless, I have to look within my mind. I have to keep making sure to pay attention to how am I actually thinking about myself on a daily basis, because based on these questions we see in here, this person is clearly not thinking in a very optimistic way about themselves, clearly. Because when we make a statement that we don't have confidence and low self-esteem, we already base that upon something, about perhaps mostly on an event that occurred, and from that we reflect, well, I'm now so ashamed, or like I'm so shocked by what happened, it gives me low self-esteem. It makes me kind of feel intimidated by what actually has occurred, and then people become anxious persons overall. There's this anxiety within them constantly because of something in the past that happened, or that they're still involved in, that they're not 100% agreeing with or thinking is totally perfect for them. You see, there's all kinds of reasons why this actually, of course, develops, but ultimately, all the problems in our lives are of mental in nature. Now, this might sometimes sound shocking to people, because then they can be like, well, what about a disabled person? Somebody was always alright physically, and then they became disabled. Is their problem only mental in nature? Well, yeah, I agree with you. Okay, they're disabled now, so also their problem is physical in nature. But here's the thing. One day you're gonna pass away and your body would be entirely disabled altogether, in the sense that it would be dead. And then what happens? Here, this is why we do this. We want to keep an open mind and actually discover, is there something that happens to us after this physical body dies? Because if there is, then you will know that you were never truly 100% only the physical body, and therefore you can start concluding again that all our problems are mental in nature. Because if we're going to have to drop this body anyway, even though it got bad over time, and then we feel bad about it, right? We start to think negative about these disabilities or whatever that have occurred over time to us, well, then it's still mentally bringing us down. And therefore we would say all your problems are mental in nature at the very end. And so therefore, regardless of what happens or happened to you, if you can bring yourself to a place of mental and emotional optimism, then you will never be dragged down by problems of low self-esteem and confidence and anxiety. Because every time I felt anxiety in my own life, this is just my example, and I know it's not for everyone exactly the same, but it was because of things that happened in the past that I have done that I knew was wrong. My conscience was eating away at me. And I think for some people out there as well, they have anxiety disorders because their conscience is actually trying to get them to pay attention to something that they should adjust. And as long as they don't do it, they feel this inner unrest, this constant unrest within themselves, right? And now, how do you get rid of this unrest, as I said earlier? Even though it makes no sense to an anxious person, first of all, usually, is that we should do it through meditation. Because the anxious person, if they sit down and close their eyes, they might be so full of unrest that they can't calm down, it would seem. So here's little tricks that we also use in meditation. It's just to focus on something. You can focus on your breathing. You can focus on the third eye. Yeah, I like that one. Between the physical eyes, in the eyebrow, right? In the forehead. Where the third eye is, you can look up pictures just to have some sort of idea of where the supposed third eye resides. But then you, for example, focus on that. But you learn to do this regularly, so you develop your ability to concentrate. And then what you're going to find is that you'll be able to actually go beyond your own anxiety that you were experiencing in this very moment. That is the beauty of it all. If you keep practicing this, then you will, first of all, calm down and balance your own mind. And once it's calmed down and balanced, you are in a position to think about everything about yourself and your life from a relaxed inner state of being, so you're no longer being thrown all over the place about, oh, this was so bad, oh, because of this I have so low self-esteem now, this and that. None of that happens anymore because the mind finally is calm. And then you can clearly ask yourself, what is it that I want to improve or change in my life? And then you think about that in that calmness. And from that calmness, all the ideas that you need in order to make it so will come to you. And then because you're already so calm and relaxed, you know and have the ability and power to actually follow through on those insights. And that is how you would change yourself truly. At least that is how I would go about it and how I suggested through this video. So if you have any other suggestions about this yourself, you can leave them in the comment section below if you want. But other than that, I hope this person will figure it out for themselves. I'll leave them a little comment about this as well and see if they take it or not. Yes, so people can take or leave my advice, of course. It's not that I'm the only knowledge on anything. But hopefully at least it serves some purpose for someone out there. I've had comments all the time where people say, oh, this helped me or this gave me new insights, thank you. And I'm always like, okay, that's cool, thank you as well for checking it out. And other than that, I'm trying to keep my ego out of all of this because I'm just trying to share what I feel from within that can be useful for humanity as they're going through their own journey through physicality. Because one day, as I always say, the journey will end for me as well over here. And then I think there's nothing more beautiful than to at least leave some stuff behind that can still hopefully inspire some people by then as well, even if I'm long gone, for example. But anyways, those were just my thoughts on this question. Other than that, I hope you have a great weekend, and never forget, dear viewer, that we are the dreamers.